Very good morning to all of you here in Chile, and good afternoon to our friends in India. With a lot of energy, we begin the third and last day of Ecostandard City Energy Infrastructure 2021. To begin, I would like to leave you with Marcela Zúñiga, our commercial director in India, to introduce the panel of Chilean and Indian experts who talk about the opportunities that we can identify between both countries in the construction sectors. Marcela, the stage is yours.
Welcome, everyone, all the participants from India, and a very good morning to all our friends from Chile who are participating in this webinar. I will just introduce the purpose of the webinar. So this is the main focus of the webinar will be to bring together the Chilean construction sector with the Indian construction sector. For this, we have participants from both the sides. Including our guest of honor, Mr. Hari Krishna from CREDAI, who will be giving us a focal speech about the Indian sector with a special focus on the seismic construction requirements and some, energy efficient construction. Our knowledge partner, TN, is also here, who is going to brief us. Mr. Tarun, the director, is going to brief us about the study which they have conducted about the Indian construction sector and how Chile can be a part of India. To start with, I will first welcome Ms. Marcela Zúñiga, who can shed some light about ProChile, its working, and how can we bridge the gap between Chile and India. So over to you, Marcela.
Thank you very much, Sanata, for your kind introduction. Good morning and good evening for all the participants. As a Trade Commissioner of Chile, I would like to give the welcome address to all the participants and a special acknowledgement to the Confederation of Real Estate Development Association of India, CREDAI, the Construction Chamber of Chile, and T&E Consultancy for being part of this webinar and collaborate actively in explore the business possibilities between Chile and India in the construction sector that has huge potential and large possibilities to be fulfilled by Chile. But before we go to the core of this webinar, I would like to give a little brief about what is ProChile and what is our role here in India. ProChile is a governmental entity which promotes exports of goods and services from Chile, whose role is to build commercial relationship between Chile and India. We are the trusted channel that connects Chilean exporters with Indian importers. And I would also like to highlight that ProChile is a non-profit entity whose main objective is to improve bilateral trade between the two countries. So now that you know what is ProChile, we will be glad to assist you in bringing Chile closer to you. Today, the innovation is the key of the process of the progress, and it's our duty to be in line with the new technologies and challenges that the society demands. Smart cities, safe buildings, sustainability construction, among others, are part of this huge range of opportunities. Because today, it is not just buildings, but actually to create and understand what they need and also what they want the new generations. On framework of all these huge challenges, it's mandatory to open our eyes to new opportunities and technologies that make it essential to be connected with different partners that can provide a new vision and collaboration. To grow, it's important to come with a real backbone as a partner, because not only can be our support, but also can be the key to open the door. This webinar is the first step in an effort to gauge the opportunities of collaboration in construction sector of Chile and India. I truly believe that this will be the gateway for future collaboration and also concrete international projects in future. Thank you. Please, Anata.
Thank you, Marcela, for the introduction. And now I would like to invite our knowledge partners, the TNA consultants, represented by Mr. Tarun Gupta, their managing director, and I will request Tarun that if you can provide us all present here with the insight of the results of your research done for the construction sector. Over to you, Tarun. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanatan. Thank you, Marcella. Before I move on to the presentation, I would request the technical team to enable the share screen so that I can allow the share screen to happen. And while they do that, I will just give a brief background on what has been the objective, where the Indian construction sector stands, and how the use of sustainability and seismic protection services are a growth area. I would just first request the team to allow the share screen if the technical team can hear me. I think the existing screen would need to change and then we can allow. Yeah. Sanatan, would you request the team?
I think Mario needs to stop sharing his screen, and yeah, then we can now
perfect.
See you,
Perfect. Always technical things are always interesting if the technology gets working. So now we are more relaxed. So greetings from on the outskirts of New Delhi, where the sun is just setting. And welcome to all our participants from Chile who are beginning their day. My name is Tarun. I'm the managing partner of TNA Consulting and privileged to work with ProChile on this initiative. I have two key messages. Number one message is that the opportunity in the Indian construction sector is not for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's for the foreseeable future. That's message number one. Message number two, whether it's regards to earthquake, seismic protection, whether it's regard to sustainable construction, it's not something which is optional. We have been behind the curve, but now this is required because there is more sensitivity, more acceptance, and shall I say, a bit of willingness to pay. And this is where Chile's strengths can really complement the demand, the gaps in the technology in India. So the first part of my presentation will focus on the construction sector, and second part would be more on earthquake proofing and sustainable. With that, I move to my presentation. So the Indian construction industry. India is a story of all large numbers, 1.4 billion population, 50 cities with a population of over 1 million, a subcontinent. But let's break it down into construction sector, a very important sector for Indian economy. Accounts for about 10% of our GDP, employs about 50 million people, right? Which is about 1/10 of our workforce. This sector is changing slowly but surely. Let's talk about automation. You look at the figure on construction equipment, $6.5 billion. In fact, I was talking to one of the large OEMs. They said that last year, despite the pandemic, was one of the best year ever of 20-year operations in India. You look at the whole cement capacity, for example. We are amongst the top 3 cement producers in the world. We have about 330 million tons of capacity. All these are leading indicators that our construction industry is geared for growth. We broadly further divide the construction industry into 2 broad sectors, real estate and infrastructure. And I'll elaborate on that when I mean what is infrastructure and real estate. Okay, let's first start with what is known as within the infrastructure space. I think, Marcella, you mentioned very aptly about smart cities. We are looking to set up about 100 odd smart cities. We have about 5,000 odd projects sanctioned under the smart city program, which is related to water treatment, a lot of urban infrastructure. About half of these projects have already been executed. But why? Why is smart city such an important aspect? Let me give you some statistics. India today, only 1/3 of the population is urbanized. Now, in the next 30 years, we expect about 300 million people more to move into the urban centers. I repeat, 300 million people more. Now, if you need that level of urbanization, you need to build, just to give you an idea how much it translates to, we need to create one Chicago, very simply, one Chicago worth of commercial and real estate every year, year on year. Okay, so just imagine, as a country, we have to add one Chicago for simplicity's sake. So what does it impact? It impacts also the need for housing. Currently, it is estimated that we have a shortfall of about 30 million homes. In fact, our Prime Minister made an announcement that we need housing for all. And in that, we are targeting about 20 million homes, of which we have sanctioned 13 million homes, right? About 5 million have been built, 8 million are under construction. That gives you the scale. Now, all these housing, we are looking to use sustainable material, modular construction, and any house which is in seismic zone 3, as I will talk later, needs to be built in with regards to guidelines for that seismic zone. So housing is one big opportunity, shortfall of 30 million homes. Moving on to the second, which is our infrastructure. This is my favorite sector. In the past, we have been guilty of ignoring this sector. Okay, whether it's roads, highways, airports, we have been guilty. But the amount of work which has happened in the last 7, 8 years is something we are really making for the shortfall of the last 60 years. And let me, again, every data I give, every comment I make, I'll try to substantiate with numbers. We've been spending about $150 billion on infrastructure. In the next 5 years, till 2025, we want to spend 1.5 trillion, 1.5 trillion dollars on our infrastructure, which translates to maybe doubling of our infrastructure spend, $300 billion every year on our infrastructure, 25% on renewable energy. You're looking at about 20% on roads, 13% on railways. So in fact, we have a very nice infrastructure pipeline handbook, wherein all these projects which are there, and as you would expect, majority of them, over 70%, are under government ownership, which is not different from any other part of the world where majority of the projects get funded by the government. Let me pick, to give you an idea of the scale, let me give you an idea of what's happening, for example, in the road sector. Okay, in the road sector, we used to build about 2 kilometers of highway every year, right? Now we've gone up to about 37 kilometers of highway every year, right? And in this 10-year period, we would have doubled our length of national highways from about 100,000 to 200,000 kilometers. So this gives you a scale on the level of construction, because when you're building highways, you're doing tunneling, you are doing bridges, and all this, as I will talk about, require construction technologies from a sustainability perspective, from a seismic protection perspective. In fact, this is a slide which I jumped over in terms of how there is this pipeline of all these projects, and this is easily accessible to you. Moving on to what is the scenario? How does India look like when we talk about the seismic zones in India? What is the percentage of population? Currently, it is estimated that 60% of India's land area is under moderate to severe seismic hazard. In fact, 13 of our top 50 cities are at high risk and 15 of them are under medium risk. But why is that happening? You see on your north, on the picture of the map on the north, this is because the Indian plate moving northwards towards Eurasian plate. And that's what's called is the foundation for Himalayas, right? And that's why Himalayas continue to increase. In fact, it is estimated, there was an article in the Nature communication that there have been moderate earthquakes of 7, and there is an imminent earthquake of greater than 8.5 magnitude. There are about 66 active faults align along this corridor, what you see, along the 2,400 kilometer corridor, which is there. And 90% of our previous casualties in the previous earthquake is due to collapse of buildings. So message on this slide, we are in a India is in a seismic zone, especially the northern part of the country. So what are we doing about it? Okay. What kind of zones are there? First of all, we have zone 2, 3, 4, and 5, according to different seismic activity. And we have our the design codes as per our Indian standards for design of structures. We have a national building codes, and a lot of these codes are mandatory to follow, especially if you are in seismic zone 3 and above. But enforcement is a big challenge, and I will highlight on that. There is in fact a seismic code for bridges as per the codes of Indian Road Congress. There is a seismic code for railway bridges as per the railway board. It's all there, and the implementation is something which I would say is work in progress. So how are we doing the earthquake proofing? I gave an idea about the codes, and we have highlighted all the different codes. Now, a lot of our engineers are aware of these codes, of whether it's the way and the techniques like base isolation, energy dissipation. However, there has been a bit of reluctance, shall I say, or apprehension to really implement this in the true spirit. Although there were some estimates that if you use dampeners, you add about $5 per square feet or $50 per square meter to the construction. But currently, the core shear wall technology is most prevalent, especially in residential buildings and buildings with over 20 story. It's mandatory to have vibratory control systems. So what we are seeing is the use of core shear wall in buildings up to 20 story and the use of dampeners, especially in commercial construction. And we have, in fact, 7 to 8 good, including global consulting firms who are providing seismic protection services. What are the current challenges? There are a couple of them. First is, let's look at, for example, lack of education. Okay. Every time the earthquake takes place in India, we are not capitalizing on the learnings. In fact, there is only one institute in India which is offering the whole degree as a specialization. In fact, it is considered, this degree is considered so mystified that it's vastly different from other civil engineering. So the first is the availability of engineers who understand this in the true sense, and which results in the lack of awareness sometimes on the latest trends. Okay. And even if there is awareness, even if a high seismic city where I live, for example, New Delhi, seismic zone 5, some of the construction projects are not in line. However, government is taking steps. We currently have 105 seismic observatories. We are adding 35 more. Plan is to add another 100 more of such observatories. And this enforcement is beginning to catch up, I would say, at least in some of the bigger cities. What I've highlighted in this slide are some of the institutions, and we have that in the report, which are there. If I want you to look at the Wadia Institute of Himalayan Technology, the Center of Earthquake Engineering, so we have the institutional framework. But if you look at the players, we have only 200 odd entities which are registered. We have 120,000 odd contractors and literally hundreds and thousands of subcontractors. This is the whole value chain in the construction industry. And let me give you a personal example. Even when I was looking at taking an earthquake insurance, some of my friends, my family were saying, why are you wasting your money? And this is us living in seismic zone 5. So that is the degree of non-challenge sometimes, where we are not even aware of the importance of checking the building or even basic thing as an insurance. The value chain here, there are multiple stakeholders involved, which quite often results in delay in execution of projects. What are the opportunities? Here, I would like to give one important message. There are two important stakeholders which are most relevant for Chile companies, or three, I would say. Let me elaborate. Number one, we have 40 to 70 large EPC contractors. That's the route to market, including 10 to 15 global EPC contractors. Number one. Number two, there are 8 to 10 consulting firms which provide seismic protection services, some of the international names as well. And number three would be to do pilot projects with some of the institutions who play a very important role in policy formulation. And everybody would, if there is a technology, a pilot project is your starting point. With that, I come to the end of my presentations. I would be happy to take any questions at the end. Thank you. Over to you, Sanatan.
Thank you so much, Tarun, for your detailed presentation. And it was very informative. And I hope this will also raise some questions, which will be good for us. But now I would like to invite Mr. Hari Krishna, and I will comment that we are very lucky to have him here. And CREDAI was having a very busy schedule, and I think it is back to back his second event which he's attending. So I would like to thank him for being here. And Mr. Krishna is Director CREDAI right now, and I think he will be the best person to tell us more about the Indian situation and where exactly the gap is there in Indian in the construction technology in India. So over to you, Mr. Hari.
Yeah, thanks, Sanathan. Thanks, ProChile team, and thanks, Mr. Tarun Gupta. That was a very informative presentation that you shared. So, as Sanathan just mentioned, I am from CREDAI. CREDAI is the apex body of real estate developers in India. So the Chile counterparts will understand real estate developer is the player, is the integral part of the construction industry in any part of the world. So with that, I'll start my presentation. So yeah, so CREDAI is, we are real estate developers, but we are developers with social conscience. That's very important. Otherwise, you end up, constructing buildings that might, cause harm to the general public, to the nature, and they might not go hand in hand with the overall development of a nation. So CREDAI calls itself as, an association that promotes development with social conscience. And just to give you a brief background of CREDAI, CREDAI was set up in 1999. So this will be 20 years. We celebrated 20 years 2 years back. And then, we have 13,000 odd members, which are across 220 cities and 21 states of the country. So what does CREDAI do? CREDAI usually does policy advocacy and takes up issues that are concerning real estate development, commercial or residential otherwise, with the central government and the state government from time to time. So just to throw more light to add to what Mr. Gupta said in his earlier presentation. So real estate sector is the second largest employer in the country. In a country of 130 crore or 1.3 billion population, real estate sector is the second largest employment generation sector, first being agriculture. We also contribute actively to the GDP of the country, with almost 8% of the GDP being contributed through real estate development. And like I said, this is the spread that CREDAI has. And CREDAI, why I'm sharing this, all this with you is, it would be very informative to the, participants from Chile to understand what a industry association has to do besides just being a policy advocacy platform for the industry stakeholders. How do we engage common population or civilians of the country? How do we engage the government? How do we engage the corporate? How do we engage the youth? Because I understand, Chile is also more like a developing country like India. So the socioeconomic profile of the population is much more similar. So this will be very helpful. So we also, CREDAI has CREDAI Grievance Redressal Forum, where, some consumer invests in a real estate development property and he comes to us saying that, I have a problem with this particular developer. We also sort out those issues. We also invest in the skill development of construction labor. That is one thing which Chile counterparts might, try. There is an opportunity of collaboration there because in the Indian construction sector, there are about 40 to 50 million construction workers who work in the Indian construction sector. So most of these, people come from illiterate or semi-literate backgrounds. So we do, short-term skill development training for them. We make them job ready for a construction site and then we deploy them at the construction site. And what we also do is we also promote clean environment. We also tell our developers to adopt environmental friendly practices, environmental friendly materials, environmental friendly construction technologies. So these are the socioeconomic aspects of the work that CREDAI undertakes. So this I'll come to later. So what we have done in terms of skill development, we've trained more than 2 lakh people and we do almost 50,000 trainings every year. So this is about the clean city movement. So I would, I'm skipping all these and getting into something that is, useful for the participants here. So what is the market size of real estate industry in India? As you can see, it is estimated that it will grow to 65,000 crore or 9.3 billion from about 1.72 billion in 2019. So in another 20 years, it will grow 5-folds. The real estate market in India is expected to grow 5-folds, and including retail, hospitality, commercial real estate, which will also add to the overall demand of the real estate market in India. So just to give you an example of what is the kind of development and what is the kind of demand that we are doing, the office market in top 8 cities, we are talking only about 8 cities in India, whereas there are almost 100 smart cities in India. We are only talking about 8, is 22 million square feet, which was in July 2020, and which is almost 5 million square feet more than this same period in the predecessing year. So what's the demand and supply in terms of residential housing? So almost 87,000 units were constructed across top 8 cities in 2020. The work, though the real estate development has slowed down because of the COVID pandemic, but what we are seeing now over the last 6 months, there has been a resurgence. There has been a steady growth in the demand for houses because the work from home culture is catching up. So there is a steady demand in metropolitan and capital cities across the country. So we are optimistic, and with the festival season in India around the corner, we are expecting this demand to develop over the next 6 years. So just as Sanatan said, I had attended an event just before this event, so where we had talked about the next 5 years being real estate development years in India. So the real estate development in India will see multifold growth in the next 5 years. We will see a lot of foreign investment. We will see a lot of technologies coming in. All this will be driven by the demand of residential housing, which will also lead to commercial development in urban cities. So we are looking at a good 5 years for the overall real estate development sector in India. So where we stand, for example, there is a demand of about 5 houses for every 1,000 of population. We are only constructing about 3 houses for every 1,000 year of population. So that is the challenge. That is where we will have to bridge the gap and try to construct more houses. So, the government already has committed that, about 25 million affordable houses, about 20 million affordable houses will be constructed by the year 2022. And like Mr. Gupta said, about 13 million have already been identified and about 6 million have already been constructed. But there is still a lot of construction going on. There is also a lot of demand for additional houses in the affordable housing segment. So a quick snapshot of what the government is doing to ensure, every citizen of India or every family of India has a house. So the government has, under its smart cities development, project, they have ensured that they work closely with the state government and promote housing. Under the Union Budget 21-22, which was this year, tax deduction of 1.5 lakh for the affordable housing has been extended till the end of fiscal year 21-22. And immediately after the COVID, first wave, the finance ministry swung in and they have announced various packages. So they have also announced the Atmanirbhar package, that like they call. So, for the developers, where about 2 crore residential units of residential, value get the tax measure also, tax benefit also. And also in 2020, the Ministry of Housing also launched an affordable rental housing policy where the migrants who move to cities can get houses on rent or lease at a very low price. The government is working closely with industry associations like CREDAI and the private developers to ensure that all the families that migrate to cities or urban places, they have a roof on their head. So that's another initiative that the government has taken. So where does this take us? What is the way forward to the entire situation of residential housing development in India, taking into consideration the slowdown that COVID brought in and all? So like I spoke and Mr. Gupta also spoke, there is already a demand of 20 million affordable housing that the government has envisaged by 2022. But again, there is an additional demand of 25 million units will be there in the next 5 years, from 2022 to 2030. That's in another 8 years, there will be demand of another 25 million units only in the affordable housing segment. I'm not talking about the middle housing or luxury housing. Only in the affordable housing segment, there will be a demand of 25 million units of affordable housing. So the growing flow of FDI in India real estate is very encouraging. So a lot of companies, whether it's European, US, UK, a lot of them come with their ESG funds to invest in real estate companies in India. So, the FDI in the next 2 years, with a US capital of about $8 billion US, that is what we are envisaging in the FY 2022. So what I would also like to add, and which I have not covered in the presentation, is, the Indian real estate development is basically self-sustainable in terms of materials that are available in the country. Right? Whatever you material talk about, whether it's steel, cement, or any other construction raw material, the Indian subcontinent is self-sufficient, self-sustainable. What we are looking at, particularly from the Chilean counterparts, from the Chilean real estate companies or the Chilean technology companies that are involved in the real estate sector, is technologies that can make housing more affordable, more environmental friendly, more quicker in terms of completing the projects. For example, a real estate project in India takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years. So can we actually quicken the entire process and construct these houses maybe in 2 years? Can we bring in material that is alternate to steel, cement, or look at how we can bring in environmental friendly materials into construction of housing? There have been a lot of materials that are being experimented across the country that can replace steel in construction, that can replace the conventional cement in construction. Is there any such material that the Chilean counterparts are working on? Also, precasting is something that the developed countries have seen in terms of construction of houses or the commercial complexes in the world. But is there any other technology that the Chilean or Indian counterparts can work together and use it for the development of the sector overall in both the counterparts? So I leave those thoughts with you, and thank you everyone for your patient hearing. I would be happy to take questions. Thanks, Nathan. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hari, for your speech and presentation. And I really like the ending part with a question, because it will give us some serious thought that how in future we can develop more technology, how we can develop more materials, which both the countries can have a mutual benefit of trade. And with this, now I would like to invite Mr. Mario Lafontaine from the Chilean side, who is not only from the construction sector, but is a very recognized name in terms of being a professor, a professional, and a recognized speaker for construction. He dons membership of many Chilean associations, including the Chilean Association of Seismology and Earthquake Engineering. So I will invite him to throw some light on the Chilean situation right now. So over to you, Mario.
Well, thank you, Sanatan. As Sanatan said, my name is Mario Lafontaine. I'm the Seismic Technologies Director from Ronald Engineer and also a partner. And today I will briefly introduce our company. Give me a second, please. The best way to tell you what we do is through our vision, which is being an international structural engineering company. A leader in the development of high-rise building and significant architectural works, responding to the challenge innovatively and efficiently, offering alternatives that create value for our customer that are also environmentally friendly. Currently, we have more than 42 years of experience in structural engineering, which more than 20 years are from international projects. As you can show here, we have made projects not only in South America, which is where our headquarters are located, but also in North America, in Asia, and Europe. The services that we offer are this one, the structural engineering, also the seismic design, the peer review, which is mainly focused on making the projects more affordable to put our experience into the project. The value engineering is that the peer review is to team up with some local consultants in order to assure the quality of the project. Also, we design seismic protection system like base isolation, like energy dissipation devices. We put the state-of-the-art also of the engineering analysis techniques through the performance-based seismic design service, and also we provide some BIM consultancy. As you might have already seen, the word seismic is located in the most of our services, and that is because we live in the most seismic country in the world, which is Chile, which is located right in front of the Nazca, the intersection between the Nazca plate and the South American plate, which causes a huge amount of earthquakes and also a large magnitude earthquakes. This turns us automatically into a natural large scale test laboratory, which has caused that more than 1,000 of our projects have already been tested with a magnitude 8.0 or greater earthquake, which provide us with a very confident solution in how to produce resilient structures in high seismic areas. This has slowly been recognized across the international community. As we can see here, which is a publication that a lot of Chilean colleagues, we made it together in order to tell the world what, in our opinion, the key aspects are in order to achieve this resilient behavior, and not only a life safety behavior, but rather a more strict ones. Now I will go rapidly through some of our projects. The first one that I would like to show you is the Ecostandard Center Tower. This is located in Santiago, Chile, and is currently the tallest building in South America, with 300 meters tall building, and it has been recognized as one of the 50 most influential tall building in the last 50 years by the Council of Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. This is also a project that we team up with some colleagues in Bulgaria, where they trust in our experience in order to produce a very cost-effective and safe building, which is the Sky4 Tower. This is 200 meters tall tower. Is currently the tallest, is under construction, and once it's done, it will be the tallest building in Sofia, in Bulgaria. Here, we are also working in Ecuador, in South America, with a project from big architects, which is the Icon Tower, a very luxury building, as you can see here. It will also be one of the tallest buildings in Ecuador once it's finished. This is also another building in Quito, which is also a very high seismic zone. It has both subduction earthquakes and also superficial faults. And as you can see here, you can clearly see what the big challenges were in this design. Also, we have made projects in Peru with Arquitectónica as an architect, which is a very well-known international architectural company. Also, here we can see some projects that we participated in United Arab Emirates. And we not only do premium buildings and high-rise buildings, but we also have a lot of experience, and this is part of our core business, which is to produce standard buildings, low-rise, and this one are some projects that we were able to participate also in United Arab Emirates. Finally, this is one building that is the tallest residential base isolated building in the Americas. It's located in Santiago, Chile, and it has base isolation under its base, which reduces the acceleration and therefore also the damage of the content of the building and the structural and non-structural damage up to 80% compared to its fixed base configuration. And we not only do buildings, this is also another example of an industrial facility, which is a thermosolar plant. Currently, it is the world's tallest CSP tower, which is located in the Atacama Desert. And that is, thank you very much. I will be happy to answer any question at the end.
Thank you, Mario, for your speech and presentation. And I think now it's time to for the question answer session. So I would like to start with, I will just, because, yeah, so I will start with some questions which are thrown by the Indian side. And if Mario, you can please answer some of them. So the first question is, from a Chilean point of view, what do you think can be the possible areas of collaboration between India and Chile in the aspect of construction technology? So what kind of technology do you think would be the most probable which we can have a exchange with India?
From our experience, I think that the most collaboration that, or the most valuable thing that we can put in the Indian projects is our worldwide known experience in seismic design. The fact that we have earthquakes and very big earthquakes every 30 years at most, it gives us the possibility to have tests or solutions empirically and not only theoretically or analytically. And that gives us the confidence to provide solutions that we know, that we centrally know that will have a very well good performance for large seismic and also will be cost efficient.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope that satisfies the question. One more question to you, Mario, is that from your experience in the real estate and the construction market, if any company has ever tried to enter into the Indian real estate market, what are the major issues which Chilean brands have faced in entering into Indian market or for that matter some nearby Asian markets? If you have any experience on that, if you have faced any issues or your counterparts have complained something about it.
Well, we haven't participated yet in any Indian projects, but we have participated in a lot of projects around the world. And I think that the key aspect is that you understand the local culture, the local materials, the local codes. Usually we partner with local consultants, and that is the best way in order to take all the local opportunities and make the local materials that are available, the local construction methods, and therefore putting all those things together in order to produce an optimal project. An initial mistake is that you want to force what you usually do in your country into another country that it might not be possible to do that because, I don't know, the material is not as cheap as it is in your country or something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think Mr. Hari will also agree with us that India itself is a construction giant and we have a lot of resources here. So our main need is for knowledge, technology exchange, and some strategic collaboration. So now I think because time is running short, I will direct two questions to Mr. Hari. So Mr. Hari, the main, the main Chilean concern is right now is that how the COVID situation in the past 2 years has affected the Indian market, because we are having a feeling that the Indian real estate and other things are going down. and the COVID situation had a again a bad impact on it. So if you can throw some light on that.
So surprisingly, it's the other way around. What happened because of the COVID situation is there has been a spike in demand for houses. Spike in demand of larger houses rather, in terms of, because people have understood the importance of a home, and there is also this work from home culture that is catching up. So there is and real estate has always been an investment preferred destination for investment in India. After gold, real estate is something that people would love to invest in India, and that sentiment has been strengthened after the COVID situation. For example, in the first wave, which started in March last year, there was a decline of about 40 to 50% in the overall demand. But after the markets opened in August or September last year, the demand increased by 100%. For example, if there were X number of units that were being sold before April last year, that almost became 2X towards October, November, and around the festive season, the demand spiked tremendously. And as I said, we just had a call, about around 4:30 today, where we envisaged that this upward trend of investment in real estate will continue for the next 5 years. So the COVID situation initially had a negative impact, but now there is a very positive impact on the overall real estate market, and it is expected to steadily grow over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, great. So I am very happy to hear a contradictory opinion, as per the popular belief. So very nice to hear that. One more question, Mr. Hari, as around the world, we see that there is a lot of governmental projects also come. The infrastructure is mainly handled by the government. I'm talking about the large infrastructure projects. So if we are willing to do some kind of a technology exchange or knowledge exchange with Chile, how much of that, how much the government is, permissible for adopting those new technologies? Because obviously there will be a cost increment also to it. And if we can also include governmental projects in that, so will it be possible from your experience?
So it is very much possible. The current government has been very encouraging in terms of adopting new technologies, when it comes to construction. There has been a major push, particularly in the affordable housing segment and infrastructure projects, where the recycled materials are being used, technologies and methodologies of construction which shorten the overall project time are being used. And it is coincidental that, as we are having this webinar, the Indian government is hosting a Indian Housing Technology Mela on the 5th, 6th and 7th of October in Lucknow, where 100 technology companies, Indian-based technology companies, are showcasing their technologies of how they can reduce the overall costing of the house, how they can reduce the overall time frame of a project, how environmental friendly houses can be built. So the government is very much interested. The current housing minister is so proactive that if a foreign counterpart, for example, a Chile company is interested in transferring the technology to India, they'll be more than proactive in making this possible. And I'm sure if somebody is interested in partnership, if we as an association can reach out and sign the partnership and then take it to the government, though it can be a non-financial agreement to begin with. And once the government comes in, then they can fund the entire technology transfer, and then they can fund the import of material if it's required. So I'm sure, and I'm 100% confident the government is very supportive in terms of allowing anything that makes easy technology transfer to India.
So great. In fact, my one more question was coming up, which you answered in this only, that what are the possible ways of going ahead? So I think if association like CREDAI is open for a MOU signing or something with the Chilean counterpart, I think, Mario, it will be great if you can convey this thing to our Chilean construction associations. If somebody is interested, we can develop a MOU, and Chile will be more than happy to help both the parties to act as a bridge between them and develop an MOU, and that will be a great way to end this webinar and start the new era. So with this, if there is any more questions, if there is any details somebody requires, we'll be more than happy to help. And my email ID is shown on the screen, so you can mail me your inquiries and we can always answer your questions. So with this, I would like to thank all the speakers who are present here. So Mario, Mr. Hari, Tarunji, I thank you all to be here. You have taken your time out for this webinar, and I hope this will, turn into something great in future. So thank you so much for being present here. I think now we can be free, and we'll end the webinar here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.